Hey, welcome to the Really Charlie podcast here. Our three guests today are Michael Grant, Dwayne Lopes, and Donald Tavares. Three my favorite New Bedford High School football players growing up. They're also known as the Steel Brothers. And I want to know where that name came from. I always heard it. I heard I used to hear Rudy Fonseca talk about it. But you know, first of all, I'm glad y'all in good health. We lost quite a bit of friends in the neighborhood, in the community, and I'm just glad I'm able to speak to three of the guys that I watched from my window when you guys all had them red and white jackets on, going to catch the bus early in the morning. You know, Dwayne lived the closest to me. I could see him. You know, headed out the door, going to the bus stop, and but first and foremost, thanks for being a mentor to me, and I appreciate it. So who wants to give us a story about the Steel Brothers?
So the Steel Brothers, first of all, Steel means strong, tough, equal, everlasting love brothers.
Exactly. So, cool.
We came about it because there was we had and a lot of the older guys in the neighborhood remember a guy named Ray. They used to call him Ray Steel. So yep. We used to be down the park, and whenever we were down there doing whatever we were doing, we would make sure Ray Steel could hang out and do it with us, whether we were shooting dice on the wall or having a drink or maybe doing a couple other things. We always included him. We always looked out for him. Donald kind of adopted him first, and then we kind of all jumped on it with Donald because, you know, Donald was the fearless leader for us when we were young, just like now when we're older. So that's where it came from.
Yeah, the man amongst boys.
All right. Well, to add on to that, what saying's true as far as Ray Steele, who passed away, was a guy in the neighborhood, and he was a loner. And Ray he really liked us guys because we paid a lot of attention to him. You know, we say, "Hey Ray, come on over here," you know. And Ray would strut over, and people know what I'm talking about. They know Ray. He strut over with his cool strut. "Hey fellas, what's happening, fellas? I got the papers." He had the funniest lines, you know, and we used to get a big kick out of Ray. So yeah, Ray was somebody that because not too many people paid attention to him. We felt it on ourselves to include Ray in on some of our little gatherings after playing ball. Have a couple of beers. Ray, come on over, Ray. Give him a beer. You know, while we're drinking our wine before, you know, the shing-ding parties. Get Ray over. So yeah, so that's how the name started. And like Michael said, you know, with the rest, as far as safe and strong, everlasting love brothers. But also, it as we started to grow a little bit, we kind of incorporated the Steel name into having a Steel relationship with one another because we were strong in our friendship. So sure. we carry that with us until today. We're talking about staying, you know, we're talking about 9 and 10 years old, and here we are, you know, big 50 cents, and still Steel.
I was leading to that story. You're right.
Yeah.
Now, did all you guys, were you friends just because of neighborhood, or were you friends because your parents were friends? How'd that all work out? Just the neighborhood?
I guess it would be a combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a combination. We were big village kids, man, Charlie. You know that. We all big village kids.
And my grandmother lived in the village right next door to Dwayne.
Right next door.
I met Donald because my neighbor on the street I lived on, Russell Montero, put me on the basketball team for Model Cities, and I met Donald. We thought he was like Shaquille O'Neal. You know, he could score 30 points a game, and you know, he was that guy. So that's how I met Donald. I thought I was like a little kid compared to Donald back then. Seriously, I mean, Donald was far advanced above us, you know, as far as athletics, and he got a lot of respect from the older guys. And so I met Donald playing basketball, and Dwayne was, like I said, my grandmother's neighbor. So I probably knew Dwayne the longest of all the guys in the South End, because I used to come down from Boston with my parents when I was 7 or 8 years old, and Dwayne and Dwayne's mother and my grandmother were best of friends, more like sisters. So I met those guys very young, and then you know, we played sports. We actually played sports with each other and against each other. So people don't realize that nowadays everybody wants to do like LeBron James. You keep going from team to team until you could win. We got better by playing against each other.
Yeah. And
It's
that was when Dwayne and Sonny, of course, is not with us, you know, on this broadcast. But see, me and Sonny, our mothers were pregnant at the same time. Sonny was born in May, and I was born in July. And we lived a few doors down in the Bay Village. And so me and Sonny, wow, we go back to when we started walking because we were that close in the Bay Village. So I've known Sonny the longest out of all the Steele brothers. But eventually, as we grow a little older, you know, we start to get to walk down the Bay Village, you know, from one end to another, sneaking sometimes. And back then you could do that, of course, you know, being a little kid, to wander around the neighborhood, because it was always safe and everybody looked after you, which is great. So yeah, me and Sonny were close. Eric was on County Street, and sometimes he would have a hard time hanging out down the way, but
yeah, we were bad influences for Eric.
he was in the hood. And my cousin David later, they were in the hood.
And everybody thought that it was all about sports, but we actually grew up all right, you know, where we could walk. You know, we could walk from the Wing Street part of the village to the park. So we would meet up and go to the park and do all kind of other things. So that's kind of how it was with us.
true.
Yeah.
Well, Eric and I, Charlie, had a long relationship too, because we started basketball. I played with his dad, Peter. Now, Donald and all them, they played for Model Cities. So it was
we got
boys
free
club,
sneakers.
yeah, in Model Cities. See,
I lost the volume.
okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
We can hear you. Mr. Brito used to pick me.
I got a call, and then my volume went off. So I'm just about hearing you again. I heard you nice and clear.
Okay, can you hear us now?
Yeah, Dwayne played for the Boys Club and the Barristers. Me and Donald played for the Vets and Boys and Girls Club. But like I said, Donald was like a grown-up. So he was on the midgets when I was on the peewees. He was a big guy. You know, but I remember we played Dwayne in a football game, and they ran quarterback sneak 35 times in a row, and Dwayne scored a touchdown on each end of the field. By the time we figured out what was going on, game was over, and he was laughing at us. But then when he had to
Charlie, I scored all 28 points. It was 28.
He did. It was crazy. It was crazy. And then they never let him play quarterback again after that. So but he knew if those barristers, Charlie, he would have had to.
But yeah, I used to get heat for being a barrister and not a vet.
Yeah. But he had to play for the barristers.
How come you didn't want to play for the vets? But
yeah, because Eric's father would have let Dwayne play quarterback.
Yeah, but what happened, I lived down, before I moved to the village, Charlie, I lived over there next to Bums Park.
Yeah.
And I can remember.
Yeah, on Blackmer and Chauffeur.
Blackmer and South
You lived on Blackmer and Chauffeur.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that's where Mr. Britter used to pick me up for basketball, because I played with the Barristers. So he asked me first to play basketball with him. I said yes. So that's when I moved to the village. But I was already a barrister. And my mom,
And a boys clubber.
Yeah, and my mom was like, well, how come you don't play for the vets? I was like, they used to laugh at me when I was walking through Montes Park because I had to practice on Sunday. I can remember. You can practice. That's how come I was like, yeah, that's how come we gonna beat y'all. That's how come we gonna beat y'all.
And you didn't play basketball with us because Sonny and Donald wasn't gonna give you the ball anyway.
Hey, they beat us all the time. Donald and Sonny beat
Donald
me,
and Sonny.
Eric
We
and
used to win
Lato.
games 75-25. Donald would have 30. Sonny would have 30.
Yeah.
And all the rest of us would have the other 15. And like 7.
Yeah, and I remember they still beat us. They still beat me, Eric, and David.
That was true story.
Somebody's one of the comments is who coached the vets and the barristers. Well, one was Mr. Brito. Who coached the vets?
No, the barristers was Butch.
Butch Firmino.
Butch Firmino and Charlie Lopes.
Was Dave Afonseca. We played
Yeah.
for Dave Afonseca.
Dave Afonseca was.
God rest his soul. Dave Afonseca was our coach. And I got to say one thing about Dave Afonseca. He gave me the ball so much, he even let me take it home at the end of the night. I love that guy. That's my favorite coach of all time.
Dave actually he used to help Butch my year, and then the vets ended up getting a team, and he recruited a lot of those guys to go play for the vets. So it was like it was a little battle between the vets and barristers because Dave snatched us up. Dwayne stayed with Butch, with the barristers.
Dave was in that Bay Village a lot, other than seeing people, but he was talking to a lot of kids. Early morning.
Put us in that van. We all jump in that van. He put us in that van and take us everywhere.
Yeah, Dave was a good man. He had a lot of good stories, boy.
But barristers at the end was West End, and the vets was South End. That's kind of how it ended up. Dwayne was a trader.
Yeah.
He was the last trader. We couldn't get him to come back.
Yeah,
But that's really how it ended up. South End, West End.
Dave Afonseca told me, he said, Dwayne, you can come play quarterback for the vets.
Yeah, he did too. All you would have had to do was hand the ball to one of us. You didn't have to do nothing.
I know.
You didn't have to throw it or nothing. I don't even think Eric threw a pass in 2 years.
I don't think so neither. Yeah.
Well, anyway, we digress. Go ahead, Charlie. What you got?
I heard a story about Donald scoring 3 touchdowns at the high school. Any of you 3 want to tell a story? Is that true? Donald,
Which time? Donald scored 3 touchdowns a lot of times.
I think there was a couple times there.
Actually, your senior year.
I'll bring up the best one. It was me and Tad Morris in the backfield. Tad Morris got suspended. This was my junior year, and it was Mother's Day at Sergeant Field. My mother never went to games. My father would go all the games. My mother wasn't into it, but she had to go to this game because it was Mother's Day. So all the time, every time you scored a touchdown, your mother would have to stand up. So we're playing Falmouth. Michael Grant took the position of tailback because Tad got benched, suspension. So Michael came in, so it was me and Michael in the backfield. And that's one that stands out because the 3 touchdowns came in the first half. And Michael put his name in the books at that time because Tad was getting more run.
230 yards, something like that.
They got introduced to the fly. Nobody knew about him until that film.
Well, I don't know how good you have to be the running back of Donald. I figured out that day that Tad was good, but Donald was really good because I don't think anybody touched me except when the referee made me give him the ball when I was going out of bounds or going in the end zone. So for folks that don't know, the best high school football player you don't know about was Donald Tavares. And I say that from the bottom of my heart. Guy taught me more about learning how to play hard and having I mean, Dwayne could just play everything. He was natural. He was, he could do everything. He was tough. but Donald was special. I mean, that he played that fullback position like, I mean, I never ran it back to anybody like that in my life.
Scary.
He put more defensive ends. We would have films, Charlie, on and watch the game films, and the defensive ends from the other team, right, Dwayne? By the second quarter, they were diving out of the way, so Donald wouldn't block them.
Yeah, Donald going low, Tad going low, Donald going high. Imagine that. And then
Donald would run through the run over fullbacks. I mean, it was amazing. And what was hilarious was they would never let Donald play defense. So when it's defensive day, we'd all be out there, and they would tell Donald and Tad, go hold hands and stand on the side. They wouldn't let them play defense. But Donald was probably the best high school football player that you don't know.
Guys are pumping me too much, Charlie. But I could say this. I could say this. I think we fed off each other, you know, because it was just so much fun. And of course, from growing up together, and now we're in the high school level. We're trying to break away from doing the bad things, you know, on the wall and all the you know, the little hiding, drinking, and smoking the joint here and there. We're trying to break away from that in high school. Michael basically was the brains. He was one of them guys get A's all the time. Dwayne was pretty good. Well, we fed off each other on the field, especially me and Dwayne more because the fact that we thought because of what?
You guys were stars.
No. Because we were crazy, I think.
You loved it. You played with the passion. That's what I learned from these guys. They played with the passion. You know.
No, you had more of a heart. Me and Dwayne just want to knock some snots out.
That's
but I will tell you this though, sports. When we were growing up, and this is probably things that people don't say, but now as you get older, the realization hits is when we grew up, sports was segregated. Our teams were by the neighborhoods. If there was a white guy, a Michael Panagakis, or a Eureka Andrade, or Rusty O'Berry, or a few white guys in the mix, there were very few. You know, unless you played baseball, you didn't play sports on any really integrated teams. I kind of got integrated a little bit more because I got bussed. I was bussed to go to school outside of the Donaghy School District. And then I got put into different classes when I got to junior high. But segregation was strong then. I mean, and it was racist. And it was racist. I mean, you know, it was really, really trying times.
Well, hey, I took that bus to Parker School. There was a whole group of us in Bay Village. They went to Parker School.
Yeah, you know. And when we got to the high school, there was a racial divide amongst the black players and the white players. And we were kind of that first group, at least that I remember, we kind of bridged that gap because we started to go to their parties. You know, Dwayne knew a few of them for playing for the Barristers. They knew Donald because as a sophomore, Donald was knocking cats out up there. And I went to school with all of them. So the Tad Morrises and the Dale Whitings and the Michael Panagakises and the Danny Houstons and Rusty O'Berrys and the Gary Crowes and the John Reposes and the Gary Bruins, Dana Connor. We knew those guys, and we started to kind of branch out around the city. And that's the first time that really happened because it wasn't like that. Tony Williams, you know, it really, I mean, it was racial, but that's the first time we kind of, you know, we were expanding our world, you know, getting out of the South End, you know, and it was different. High school sports was really different when it came to that. I don't think any of us were coached by any white guys until we got, not the majority, until we got to high school. And then the only black coach we ever saw was, we had Mr. Brooks for like a day, and he left. And then we had Mr. and Coach Soares. So all that stuff was different for us. You know, you had, and then, we were lucky. We had Bruce McPherson, and he saved all our lives.
Yeah, he did.
Because he took interest in that. And he talked to me about that. When I was a senior and these guys were gone, he said, Mike, your guys are gone, and you're going to have to stand up in the front now. And these juniors and sophomores and freshmen, they're going to look at how you are with the rest of your team. So you need to be just like they were. And these guys right here, they crossed some lines that were hard to cross. I mean, We came out of Dartmouth and Stan games, Attleboro. They called us Roots and asked us if we wanted watermelons. I mean, right, guys? It was different.
Oh, me and Donna was about ready to fight. We was about ready to fight that basketball game, Charlie.
Yeah, we had some very, very heated racial stuff going on back then.
But let me
sports was our bridge.
Charlie, let me add this. The year me and Donna were freshmen, we got shorted because we didn't play no football. That was the strike year. And we lost out on a whole year of football. But like Mike said, all of them Guido Cucci, the Cabrals, the Mark, all the white guys, they played JV football. They were freshmen with us. But me and Donald lucked out. We could have stood back and played another year and been a senior with Michael Grant. So we did all this on 3 years of football, where mostly everybody else did 4 years.
Yeah, we just went right into varsity.
It was crazy because even Donald, when Donald came to the Bedford High School as a freshman, he was already making enemies on JV basketball team because Donald was wearing them out. Already wearing them out.
Well, what happened, of course, it was all junior highs then. So Roosevelt was the only junior high in the city that had 9th graders. The other two schools, Mandan at Keith at the time, they went to high school, their 9th graders. Roosevelt State. So because I lived in the Bay Village, I had to go to Roosevelt. So in order to go to New Bedford High, I took my brother's address, who lived up at West End, Potter Street, and transferred to New Bedford High. But the football season was just over. As a matter of fact, basketball season had started, and they had already made the cuts. And I went up there and I practiced the freshman day, and they put me up to JV.
They didn't even let him play with us. Donald, just say it like it is. They didn't even put Donald on the freshman team.
Yeah. But then our sophomore year, we all started varsity, and the rest is history.
Yep.
Yeah, we all. I mean, I went to Holy Family first.
Wow.
I went to Holy Family for a week, and then I found out they didn't have football. So, yeah, it was crazy.
We got a comment from Kippy Andre. Says, Fruit, tell them about when you played again. I believe that's against Dartmouth High School in that football game.
Oh, bro.
Wow, what a game. What a game.
I know what you're talking about.
That was the best game, of my career in high school, because you know why? Once again, Dartmouth was being racist jerks the year before when me and Donna, we were about ready to fight. We didn't care. We were the only football players. Michael had a good JV career, but Michael's thing was the track and the field. He said, I ain't playing basketball no more. Even though I can make the team, I'm going to go run some track. So anyway, Dartmouth, they had a little racist tone too with us. So I was extra hyped for that game. For some reason, everything just fell right where it was supposed to. I had a kickoff return, Donald in front of me. I caught another 30, 40-yard pass in the end zone. I had a couple sacks.
Excuse me, Dwayne, you're skipping something. On that return, what did you do going down the sidelines? I think that's what kept. What did you do with the ball?
Shook that ball in their face, and we all ran all day Monday and all day Tuesday.
Wayne went whole sideline, and I was in front of him. He went and stuck the ball right in the coach's face and some of the players as he's running by.
Yep.
Then he made
and Colin Lynch was the coach.
Yeah, Coach McPherson.
And I was coming off the field, and he yelled at me, and Dwayne pointed the ball at him again.
But McPherson, I think that's what Kippy's talking about, because that's what.
I'm pretty sure.
Dwayne had to actually go to Dartmouth High and apologize. McPherson apologized for that.
And then they said I was throwing punches, but I was just whooping some A that day on defense. I wasn't throwing no punches. I was just hitting everything, walking. If you
They
was
they had,
Indian,
they had this kid that was supposed to be real tough. His name was I know his last name, Mashalek.
Marshall.
The
Yeah.
whole state talked about him, and we rattled this kid so much. No lie. He went on the sideline, and they had him change his number because they said to get him. To get him
Trying to hide him.
So I'm looking for his number because he was a defensive end, and I'm like, "What happened?" They took him out, and I looked and I saw him because his eyes were kind of like in the kind of way, and I said, "Oh, he's right here. They changed his number." And before you know it, that started something. But a lot of good times.
God
Oh,
bless
yeah,
Coach McPherson and Coach Hamlet dealing with us. Oh man,
Pearson was a great man, though. I got to add that before
Coach Hamlet
we
too.
talk about football. McPherson did a lot for his kids, man. I'll tell you, he saved me. He definitely saved me because I was in the wrong direction going into my sophomore year after my freshman year, getting in a little trouble here and there, acting like a fool. And McPherson grabbed a hold of me. I didn't like him at the time. He used to go to all my classes, make sure I was doing my schoolwork, what I was doing. He was constantly on me. So I mean, he passed away years ago, but I'll tell you what, I still always think about that man. He was a great man. He also got me into college, which was hard to do with my grades, but he managed to do it. And he even helps the guys on the basketball team get to college. That's how good of a man he was.
Yeah, he
You
knew
know?
what was up. He knew what was up.
I mean,
Yeah.
nothing against
Actually,
Joe.
Donald, where'd you go?
Huh? Excuse me?
Donald, where'd you go to college? Where'd you end up going?
I went to Fairmont State University. It was Division II ball. And the reason why, and I'll tell kids out there, stay in them books. Stay in the books and stay on the workouts. Michael was a brain. He used to get me sick. He didn't have to study. He was a good guy. Get A's. Dwayne got good grades.
I have to study, Charlie. I have to study.
Well, I was a nuthead. I didn't want to study. And I think I might have had a little brain damage then. Who knows? But
Dwayne,
I used to forget.
Dwayne had to get those grades because Gracie wasn't playing no games.
No,
if she yelled,
would hit us.
If she yelled from her house to tell me, say, "Charlie, get to bed," I would have went to bed because I heard her from.
Oh, Gracie did not play, but you know what? Well, all mothers. Well, Michael's mother was a sweetheart. Rosie didn't play either. I came to school. My mother wasn't pushy. She had a hard time with me. But anyway, to try to narrow it down, yeah, I ended up going to Fairmont State. I could have went to some really good schools that I was getting from. And McPherson got me to go to Fairmont State University because Virginia at the time, and actually West Virginia too was recruiting me. So he figured if I went to Fairmont State University, I would be close to WVU, which I was, only 19 miles away. And there was a guy coaching at Fairmont. His name was Dave Ritchie. He was actually from New Bedford. He played for New Bedford High, but he got away from us years later. He ended up being a great coach himself, won some cups in the Canadian football. So him and McPherson talked. I went up there. It was more or less kind of going to be like a prep school type of year, see if I get my grades up, which I did, and also see how I did in football, which I did pretty good. So I did start getting some letters, even after my freshman year, and coaches calling me up from other places. Unfortunately, that didn't work out too good because my first weekend home after football camp, I got in an accident with George Mendes coming from Smuggle.
Man.
George Mendes, Sonny, and George. Drunk driver hit George's van, tipped it over. I ended up in the hospital in contraction, neck all messed up. So my next year, of course, after that, nobody was looking at you. You know how that goes. Yeah, you get
Yeah.
an injury, no good for no scholarship. So I ended up staying at Fairmont State. I sat out a year. They said I wasn't going to play anymore. I still, but I was never the same. I still continued to play, and I ended up staying at Fairmont State University. These guys, of course, well, I'll leave that to Mike. Mike was big time. He went to BC, Division One. People that don't know, played with Doug Flutie himself, a Heisman Trophy winner. Dwayne, of course, was the Minuteman, UMass, Amherst, All-American, defensive back. Kicked some butt up there.
Dwayne, how'd you make it through all that snow up there at UMass Amherst?
Man, I think that's what might have led me to move to Texas. Because man, it was in a valley. Amherst was in a valley. And it could snow like in November and still be there like in April. It was just but I actually wanted to go to Boston University. They told me I was too small and too slow, Charlie. And then when UMass gave me that scholarship, I was like, okay, I'll take it. They went to the Division I AA championship that previous year. So, I thought I was going to be a wide receiver up there. I honestly didn't know if I would make it, Charlie. But then when I seen I was whooping up on them guys in practice, I was like, dang, this kind of easy. These guys are, I can play at this level. And I just had a really good sophomore year. No, I actually, matter of fact, Michael was my summer league basketball before Charlie. I went to UMass. I had broken toes on both feet. Michael was wrapping me up. I remember we were playing for the bomb shelter basketball, and I messed myself up. I get there. I missed the first 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks of two-a-days. And, man, I felt the hate. Because they were, out there 2-a-days. And I missed all 2 weeks. I was shooting pool and eating, getting a cachupa gut. Those guys that made fun of me.
Yeah.
So, I said, okay. They was like punking me off. So I said, okay. When I got out there, I had to hit a few guys on varsity, and then they took that blue shirt away from me. But living up there, it was pretty good. I liked it. It was quiet. After my freshman summer, they didn't let me come back to New Bedford anymore, after we had an incident in Wareham in the VFW, So Amherst was cool. It was laid back. I think I could have been a better student for sure, Charlie.
We all talk. We all wish we could have had somebody that was kind of pushing us in the books, including myself.
Right.
I didn't realize how important that was until later on. Now, Michael, you went to BC, and now did you play football and run track there?
So I got a football scholarship to go there, and I actually
ran track
and surprised myself because as a freshman I started about 6 games, and I really didn't start at New Bedford High until I was a senior. I played as a junior, but I went to a BC football camp and ran a couple 4.540s, and then ran a couple 4.40s, and people was like, "Wow!" So Coach McPherson, he said, Mike, you can pretty much, you can have a lot of attention if you have a good senior year, which I had an okay senior year. I mean, our team wasn't great, but I had about 15 or 16 Division I scholarships. So I was going to go to Wake Forest. I actually had verbally committed to Wake Forest. And then the coach at BC told me that my mother would never get to see me play because he knew we were poor. And, there was no bus from Buntwood Park to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and back on the weekend. So I went to BC, and then the BC had been 0-11 the year before that. So they brought in myself, Steve Diossi, Tony Thurman, a guy named George Radachowski, a couple big linemen, Dave, my roommate for 2 years up there, Dave Thomas, and 9 of us started about 5 or 6 games, and then that coach got fired. So coming into sophomore year, I was starting, and we were getting ready to go play A&M, and I'll tell you, to me, it's much more of a miracle to me than anybody that I was starting, because I didn't like football like these guys. I mean, it was hot in the summer and cold in the winter, and you know, you have to be running up and hitting on people, and I was just I wanted to just get the ball and run, and then I ended up playing defense. The coach said, Mike, you know, cornerbacks, they're the highest paid players in the NFL. I think you can cover people. So when I was a freshman, I started against Stanford and Pittsburgh and, you know, Dan Marino and John Elway. Yep. Actually, people thought I broke up a pass against Stanford, but actually, John Elway threw the ball off my helmet. You know, we played UMass, and I think Dwayne let me get by on purpose, and I smashed the guy on the punt return, and got Special Teams Player of the Week in the East. So
I let him do that. You heard that, Charlie? Huh?
I think he let me do it because he was supposed to block me, and if it was anything like in the Bedford High, he used to smack me all over the place. But he let me get by, I guess. So as a freshman in football, I actually ended up having this year that surprised me more than anybody else. And then I did run track, and I came in second in New England in the 55 meters and 66th in the Eastern Championships, or 5th. I don't really remember. And then I came back my sophomore year, and I tore my ACL, my MCL, broke the top of my tibia, and they told me I'm not going to play anymore. You can't play anymore. You're not going to play anymore. But so I said, well, what does that mean? That means you get to squirt water bottles and hand out bags, and I wasn't having that. So I came back and played. So I sat out my sophomore year, played my junior year a little bit, not a lot. And then my senior year, they actually played on offense and defense at BC. Got a game ball against Morgan State for catching a pass and knocking down a pass. And so I had a okay football career. And what was crazy is that as a freshman, I had run some 40s with people. They used to give me $20, and I would go run 40s for them when they were doing combines, so they could kind of chase me. So as a senior, these people were still calling me. I had a couple of chances to try out, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to come home. I mean, I had graduated in 3 years because, like Dwayne, you don't come home in the summer too much. You take a lot of classes. So I had started grad school, and I just wanted to get out. But BC football taught me a lot about preparing yourself and training. I mean, I think I gained about 25 pounds. You know, I came back and people didn't know who I was. You know, believe it or not, you know, there's a lot of you know, what it did teach me was football was much more of a vehicle, because when I got hurt, I think they thought I was going to quit and come home. And I wasn't going to do that. I was going to graduate. You know, I had promised my mom I would graduate. So I had promised my mom I would graduate. So I stayed in school, and, you know, it taught me a lot about life, got me into a lot of my passions, working with youth now and coaching. So, yeah, BC was good. And I played with Doug Flutie. I tell people he played with me. I remember Doug Flutie was catching punts on the scout punt team, and the next week he had about 200. Every quarterback we had got hurt, and he was in the game, and it was all over from there. As a matter of fact, if you watch BC games, he used to come off before the game. He was always throwing the ball to the same guy. It was me. He warmed up with me. When he came off, I give him his big mittens. When I would go on the field, he would stand up there and he'd be clapping, because he was a good dude, and I liked Doug. I let him watch my color TV that I got from New Bedford that had no serial numbers on it. I came to college with a serial number, so it was I mean, with a kind of a warm television. But no, BC was really good. But again, it taught me a lot about life. Like you get knocked down, you need to learn how to stand up. Getting injured probably taught me more than being a good player, and taught me about sticking to it and listening. I don't think any of us were good listeners when we were in high school. We knew everything, you know, what we could get away with, we did. And at least for me, when I went to BC, it was a real education in getting myself ready to be out in the world, you know, be a parent, be responsible. And so it was a good choice for me. And it was the last school I wanted to go to. I did not want to go there. We had a friend of ours who had gone there that didn't have a good experience. He was my recruiter that night, and he kept telling me, whatever you do, don't come here. Don't come here, Mike. And I still went. So it was probably God that wanted me to be at Boston College or something else. Maybe, you know, the spirit of OLOA took me there.
That's it. Now,
but that's also where we got his name from. So don't let him slip by that. Fly. We all got nicknames. His name was the Fly because he could fly.
Yeah, because Charlie, we would run 100-yard sprints, 80-yard sprints. We'd be 10 yards ahead of Mike. He'd give us a head start and still beat us.
Yeah. He was too fast.
He actually made me faster, Charlie. He made me faster. Us just running in the beach at Horseneck, down the beach. Michael made us all faster. Donna was just strong, a runner, period. I didn't have no form at all, but I was more quick than fast, you know. But Michael made all of us faster. That's for sure.
He made us faster. We tougher.
Yeah, exactly.
Dwayne,
if we can get our hands on him,
running for my life.
He had a breakout year that senior year. We came back and watched him play Thanksgiving from school, and I'll tell you what, he put on some weight, was knocking some heads off.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Oh, he might have made us faster. We made him tougher, and that's the bond we had, getting back to being friends and steel brothers. We always looked out for one another.
Who's that one dude in the neighborhood that missed the opportunity that you guys had? Like, could have been an outstanding football player, but just didn't have it. I mean,
are you kidding me? Whew. The one that stands up, Roy Ferguson was a great athlete.
Yeah.
Both the Fergusons, Blaine.
Both Fergusons. But Roy was more or less a group. Roy was a great athlete. He would have been good. Anything he did, he was good. Whether it was basketball, football, pickup games, Roy was good. So Roy really stands out as far as playing ball. I'll tell you.
Football. That's football.
Yeah.
Roy was a good athlete. Both him and Blaine were good football players.
What stood out? Morris Pena was another one. Morris Pena, as far as any sport, would be baseball. Morris could get anything. Snowball. We were having a snowball fight. You wanted to be on Morris's team. You want to be on his side because he could pick you off like you wouldn't believe. He had he did.
He going to the Snowball FL.
Snowball Hall of Fame.
Snowballs, rocks, apples. Morris was a clown. He'd throw anything. He was crazy.
Charlie, real story was there was some athletes in the neighborhood when we were growing up that were probably far better than all of us. The Jeffrey Martins, the Kenny Francises, the Roger Monteros, the Blaines, the Roys. But some of the best athletes, not only did they not go to college, they didn't even play in high school. OLOA basketball games were better than going to high school games back then. OLOA seniors. But what I would tell you is, though, those guys were the first ones to tell us, man, go to school. Man, I remember Jeffrey Martin being in our ear, man, Dwayne's cousin, man. Go to school, man. Go to school. Don't miss the boat, man. Go to school. So I think for us, we were like that first group in the neighborhood that was going to go to school. I'm talking go to high school. We were going to go to high school because these guys didn't even play at high school. I'm telling you, when New Bedford used to have the shootouts, half our team never played high school basketball. They were just unbelievable street players. And when we used to play basketball, or even when we played pickup football, we'd go up to West End and play against guys that you never heard of. So it was I think that we were the generation that was going to go to high school, and then some of us went to college. So, and I think it was that, we saw where they were ending up, and that probably wasn't the way. That wasn't where I wanted to be, and I know it wasn't where we wanted to be. I mean, we didn't want to go. I mean, they had all this talent, but they weren't. It was done, and that was it was crazy to me when I reflect on that now as a 59-year-old man, how good some of the athletes were that we grew up with. But for whatever reason, especially in the South End, we just had a lot of guys that just didn't even make it to high school. And I know that's one of the things that I wanted to do. But from listening to Bobby Grace and Russell Montero and Larry Pina, they were like, you got to go to high school. You got Dave Afonseca. You got to play at the high school. People need to see that there's talent from down here. And these guys busted the door open, and the floodgates have been open ever since. The South End, the athletes from the South End have been, names at the high school that people know about,
And Michael's saying is, of course, definitely true. As you know, Charlie, growing up in the Bay Village, the Montes, we're all Montes Park boys and all that. We have different age groups. We call them cliques back then, right? You had your clique, had our clique. Everybody had a clique. And the older guys that Mike was talking about, they were above us, of course, and they were all great athletes. But like he said, they pushed us in playing ball, basketball, football. They really were tough on us, but they were doing it for a reason. So even though they might have been going to the left instead of the right, they primed us up to do what was right. And that was great. And I think about them guys every day. Unfortunately, a lot of them ain't with us, but they primed us up. But even the guys in our age group, unfortunately, some of them started maybe going the wrong way, not to judge anybody or anything. We weren't any better. But because we love the game so much, I think we pushed ourselves as Steele brothers to do the right thing. So we got together. It's like, we got to do this. We could have fun, party in the summer and all that. But we pushed ourselves to, move ahead, which was good. That's another part of being a Steele brother.
Well, one thing I admire is that, your early years in high school, I mean, that was something I was looking at, especially, I mean, I seen Dwayne every day, and hung with his brother and another athlete that I played with, and that's another dude that I thought he was gonna be big time, and so being friends with Paul, I got it, to know Dwayne and you guys are great mentors, and I see that Dwayne's coaching in Houston. Michael's always been coaching, as far as I know. Donald, you're definitely aces to me, man. I mean, I remember the one thing I like about you is that when I was at Keith and you would come into the school every now and then. Actually, you did work at the high school at Keith's, one of them, right? Did you work?
I worked at both of them when you was there.
Yeah.
Keith went to the high school, right? Didn't you go to both?
No, nope. I end up just being at Keith.
Okay.
But
so then, I was there. Yeah.
So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
What I'm getting at is that those guys mentored you guys, and now you're mentoring other kids, and it's got to the point where it's been a number of years that, and I just want to let you know that keep on mentoring the kids, and you're going to do it anyways because it's within your heart. And this is what this podcast is about: inspiring stories and reaching different people from your pages, my page, whatever, and just try to keep people motivated because they're getting sidetracked. They're getting sidetracked to think that things, I don't know, it's just leading to trouble. And we're just seeing so many, especially in this city, we're seeing athletes that don't want to be students. And you try to get them there the best you can. It's even at the point where they've forgotten me. And I only been retired just a few years. and it's sad. So I got to get more out there, and I got to start doing some more things too.
Well, thank you, Charlie. Thank you.
Oh, you're doing great, Charlie. You're doing really great.
Thank you.
From what I see.
Thank you.
We've been following your great accomplishments for years, man. You did more, stayed right home in the city, and I tell you what, you saved a lot of people, brother. Saved a lot of people.
Sure did.
I'm glad.
Everybody
I'm so glad
knows everybody knows.
I'm glad I got away from New Bedford for 5 years. Getting away from New Bedford and then coming back, you kind of I learned to appreciate home and family, just being away from them. But the best football I ever seen was in the state of Florida, and I was so glad that I was able to go down there for 2 years and just to see that atmosphere. When you see 5,000-6,000 people in the stands for a high school game, you're like,
what?
It was like Friday Night Light. Yeah,
that's all.
Texas.
Well,
6,000.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, listen.
Go visit Dwayne in Texas, and we went to high school. Took me to a high school football game. Him and Mike Gomes, and I was like, "This is a high school football game." It was nuts. Friday Night Lights. I was like, "What?" It was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah. So Florida and Texas, you're right. Florida.
Yeah, that's where the athletes come from.
Yeah, in Texas.
And Charlie, I guess.
But you know what? You got to dream big.
Yeah.
You got to dream big. No matter if you're playing at New Bedford High, or you're playing at New Bedford Volk, or you're playing anywhere. If you dream big and you believe there's hope, and I think that's what you're saying. You got to keep the hope alive out there. It's tough right now. Things are tough right now. Tough for these kids, and tough for the adults. And I feel I think that the spiritual message that comes out of this for me is that there's no place like home, and if you want home to be home, you have to preserve home. So thank you, Charlie, for doing that and getting us all out here. As we're all getting a little older and grayer, and we all look better from the neck up, except for Donald. He looks good from the waist up.
You know what? We are, of course, we all know this. We're fortunate because growing up, and I know all three of you could relate to this. Things were so much different. We were like family in a Bay Village. Till today, we know all them people. I mean, it was just like a big family. No matter where you went, you could eat anywhere. You could go to anybody's house. Somebody's mother could tell you, watch your mouth and be quiet and get your butt home. I'll tell your mother. And there was all respect towards the parents. Unfortunately, that's not happening no more, and it's really sad. Like we're talking about different cliques and different ages. Like we had the older guys priming us up. We primed up the younger guys, and so forth. And then all of a sudden, throughout the years, that kind of got thinner and thinned out. Because we all remember back in the day in Monty's, man, we were out there at nighttime, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, playing ball, sitting on the wall. It was all about fun. And
not getting arrested, not selling drugs, not shooting guns.
I mean,
having fun and
it was fun. I mean, I would change childhood for nothing. I mean, we were poor and we didn't even know it because it was so. We had a great.
Absolutely right, Donald.
It's sad because we see some people, as you know, passing away lately. Condolences to all the families out there that lost some loved ones. There were some great men out there, man, and it's hurtful to see them go. But them are the guys I'm talking about that primed us up when we were little. You can remember so many things, and it's unfortunate that unfortunately a lot of these kids don't have that. But just because you don't have that, you have your family, you have your parents. So stay strong, do what you got to do, man, to make it.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie, he's right. Being that I've been in Texas here for 30 plus years, when I look back at how I grew up, you're right. We were so blessed, Charlie, because inner city Houston, I've seen some people who were poor, and like you said, we all were poor, but I still feel that we were blessed. We were blessed,
Yep.
especially inner city. You know, I see inner city all these 30 years, and man, I shake my head and I give thanks that I was Bay Village.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
I give
Yep.
thanks because
Absolutely.
we got the same good facilities as the white kids. We had New Bedford High School, new hockey rink, courts, basketball, football. We had it all.
And we
had
made
it
some
all.
good friends from them other neighborhoods.
Sure.
We made good
Sure.
friends. You know, we crossed the color lines. I call them guys my friends today.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. But most of all, we had our neighborhood.
Yeah, we had
So-
our neighborhood too. We could be proud of it.
All the guys, and we could remember all the younger guys below us. Charlie was a little young.
Proud of
I
the
remember
same thing,
Charlie and his brother Kevin. Man, when they were,
and Nona, we remember Nona. Nona was.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she was
you
no,
can't-
she was no joke.
it's great about it. We all got the connection, you know. And that's the Bay Village.
Yeah,
All Bay
Village.
Village kids.
Bay Village.
I'm gonna tell you.
Straight out of Bay Village.
Hey, Skipper Fernandez used to bother me and Kevin, right? So now I've been this height up until 8th grade. So right around the 7th or 8th grade, me and Kevin's taller than Skipper. So Skipper's balling. He called us Frankenberry, Count Chocula. He was messing with us. We said, hey. So Kevin says, hey, you want to get him?
Tag team.
So we were gonna get Skipper because we were bigger than him. But it's the Bay Village was I want to write a book about it, but I just don't got the time. But eventually I will, and I know I have 1, 2, 3 chapters in you guys because that's what I need, a whole chapter on all 3 of you. And
There you go.
Well, we appreciate
tell
you,
that
Charlie.
story.
Thank you.
Charlie,
appreciate
I'm ashamed to say I still haven't read your book, the McCoy story. Because
Hey,
people tell
you know
me
what?
about it, and I heard you got a little H on there.
It's Floetry, right? It's Floetry. It's called Floetry.
Well, that's
Andre
I got-
McCoy.
I got
You got-
14 or 15 books out, and one of them's about Andre.
Yeah.
And I interviewed Donald in that book, and Donald, I promise you, I'll get that to you by next week. And
Yeah.
if
I should. It ain't your fault. I should have bought it a long time ago.
Hey, Charlie,
Nah,
did you know Donald and Andre went toe to toe
I know.
in high school?
That would have been pay per view now.
Hey,
Yeah, it would have been on pay-per-view.
Donald, want to tell that story?
Oh my God!
I'll tell the story real quick. Yeah, this was of course, we're in high school. Andre, this is a funny story actually,
About an egg.
because people, there he goes, and it's true. It really was about an egg. Me and Andre, we were friends. We were cool. We were friends, and we had this class. Of course, everybody knows about this class, Mr. Alcock's class, and it was a fictional foods class. So me, Andre, and a whole other, group of other kids, we had this class, and we could eat in this class. So we had 2 periods, double period in this class. So one was for breakfast, one was for lunch. And Mr. Alcock used to let us eat. He used to let us grub. And of course, me and Andre being big kids, we used to, we used to eat. So Mr. Alcock used to have to tell us to slow down sometimes. So this one particular day, Mr. Alcock says, all right, you guys can have breakfast, but nobody gets extra eggs. I'm low of eggs. 2 eggs each, that's it. We were going to try to eat a half a dozen if we could. So sure enough, we're making our eggs, we're making our breakfast, and Andre grabs an extra egg. So I was joking around with him, and I said, hey, Andre, only 2 eggs. He goes, be quiet, be quiet. I said, I'm going to tell. I was just joking. I really wasn't going to tell. But I said, I'm going to tell. And he took me serious. He was like, you tell, and I'll kick your ass. I'm going to get you after school. I'll kick you. And I was like, whoa, I was just joking, man. He goes, no, you wasn't. So Mr. Alcock came in here. He says, hey, what the heck's going on? And I said, Mr. Alcock, Andre got 3 eggs.
So it was about an egg.
Andre, because he was kind of calling me on, so I had to be a wise guy. That's how I was. I had no fear. I didn't. So I was like, Mr. Alcock, you got 3 eggs. So I read them out jokingly. So Andre, they couldn't have breakfast or lunch, so he was heated. So after school, he follows me. I'm going to football practice. By this time, the whole high school heard about me and Andre going to have this fight. I didn't want to fight him. He was going into the Olympics he was on the Olympic team. And of course, I was playing football. So walking to football practice, going by Sergeant Field. Andre's following me behind me with a big group of people. Man, I'm talking about, I don't know, a couple of hundred at least. And he's taunting me, and I'm just walking. I'm ignoring him. And then finally, I get next to Sergeant Field, and I just couldn't take it no more. I started feeling like kind of a coward, but I just didn't want to fight him. I wasn't scared of him. So I says, all right, that's it. So I put my bag down, and
I picked it up.
Andre was good, and I mean, good guy. So was I, but I think he had a little brain damage, and so did I. so I kind of outsmarted him in this part because, of course, he was a boxer. I mean, he's a champion. I ain't gonna box Andre McCoy. You kidding me? So I got my stance like I'm gonna box him, and shoo, I just dove for him. And that was basically the story. It got him
and they
down.
rode like a tumbleweed all the way down what's now McCoy's Way.
Yeah, they broke it. They broke it up, and
There was a little bit of karate, Charlie. They had seen a little Bruce Lee. There was a little bit of Black Belt Jones going on,
Yeah.
I didn't want to tell that spot.
It was a fight for the ages, but
holding Andre back, they let him loose, and they were still holding me. So I couldn't do nothing but kick. So I had to kick.
He kicked the right in the head.
But here's the best part of the story. The next day, we go to school, and Mrs. Harper, who was a sweetheart, I love that lady. She was hard on me, but she was a great woman. And I wasn't even in Blue House. I was in Gold House, but I used to sneak over to all the houses. So she calls me and Andre in her office, and
Sneak over to the house.
And she's yelling, she's screaming, "What's wrong with you, jerks? You're so stupid." I mean, she's saying all this crazy stuff. She wouldn't stop for like 2 minutes. "You stupid kid, you jerks." And she says, "Okay, this is what we're going to do." And she hits her hand on the desk. "Stop it." And she says, "Listen, next time you guys want to get into a fight, let me know. Let me know. We'll get together. We'll go down to the D block. We'll go in the print machine. We'll print out tickets. We'll print out flyers. Andre
review,
sir, versus Tavares, the football player. We'll set up a stage, a Sergeant Field, and we'll let you guys go at it. We'll make so much money. I'm telling you, please, next time you want to fight, let me know. I want to be your promoter. I want to do this. We'll make a lot of money." And me and Andre, and she sounded serious. And of course, she was joking. And we just looked at each other and busted out laughing. So it was a way of her breaking the ice. And, the rest is history. Of course, we just went along being friends. And that's the story of the Andre McCoy, Donald Tavares saga.
Well, guys, it's been an hour, and I mean, this is something I'm going to cherish. This video, it's always going to be available, and I'll get to look at it, later on. And I just want y'all to stay healthy. Dwayne, I want to go see you in Houston. Once this stuff's calms down, me and my wife can take a road trip down there. We'll definitely hook up with you, and hopefully it's at football season, because
that'd be great.
Summertime in Houston is not good,
That's the best
Charlie,
time.
thank you very much, man. God bless you and your family. Everybody be safe.
Charlie, great, man.
Thank you, Michael.
Appreciate it.
You're one of the
I
best
love you
men,
guys.
man. Keep
Peace.
what you're doing. Well respected.
Thank you,
much
man.
love.
All right, man. Peace. Keep doing your thing, Charlie.
Still
Back at
brothers.
you, man.
Still brothers. I'll see you soon. Smackies off your head. Be
All right,
good.
Still brothers.
All right.
Over and out. Don't even
Guys,
guys.
Leave me alone.
Charlie,
Later.
we love you, man. Bay Village,
Love you,
my
man.
brother.
Love you, bro.
Love
Village.
you,
Take
Charlie.
care. God bless.
All
Love you
right,
guys.
bro. All right, T-Dale.
Oh, thank you everyone for tuning in. I really, really appreciate all this. It really was good. The Steele brothers, Michael Grant, Dwayne Lopes, Donald Tavares, good people. I love them to death. Bunch of Bay Village kids, and just trying to do our thing over the years. And they definitely did a good job, especially mentoring a lot of us. And I really, really appreciate it. So, as I say, everyone, mask those beautiful faces, hand sanitize your hands, wash your hands, keep yourself safe, and along with others. I love you. Stay tuned for the next podcast coming up very, very shortly. And I appreciate all the listeners out there, the viewers. Thank you very, very much. Have a good night.